Hey guys, I think it's working. I had some technicals. I had some technical difficulties, but I think we're on. Ready for our first look at the Kaiju Preservation Society. So let's get into it. Hey, somebody found me. Yay. I was worried with the technical difficulties that this video was just going to have no viewers. Anyway, so um, I first found out about the Kaiju Preservation Society because I'd read Monster Hunter International. Somebody told me that it's similar, and so um, I really enjoyed Monster Hunter International, and um, I'm kind of in love with the cover. And but covers can be deceiving, and just because somebody told me about it and I like this other book doesn't mean we don't like this one. So we'll have to see. So whoa, the video was private. I don't know. The other video was just I don't know what happened. Anyway, so um let's talk about kaiju. So I wanted to read the blurb to you guys because this is a newer release, and this is all we have to go off of: the title, or sorry, the title, the cover, the blurb, and the first chapter to decide whether we like it or not. So it says when COVID-19 sweeps through New York City, Jamie Gray is stuck as a dead-end driver for food delivery apps. That is until Jamie makes a delivery to an old acquaintance, Tom, who works at what he calls an animal rights organization. Tom's team needs a last-minute grunt to handle things on their next field visit. Jamie, eager to do anything, immediately signs on. What Tom doesn't tell Jamie is that the animals his team cares for are not here on Earth, not our Earth at least. It's an alternate dimension. Massive dinosaur like creatures named Kaiju roam a warm and human free world. They're the universe's largest and most dangerous panda, and they're in trouble. It's not just the Kaiju Preservation Society who found their way to the alternate world, others have too, and their carelessness could cause millions back on Earth to die. All right, so the blurb sounds great. I just reading the blurb, it sounds like a really, really fun story. So let's see. Ah, I had some notes. Okay, yeah. So let's talk about just the first chapter. So, the first chapter, Jamie gets called into his boss's office for his 6 month review and comes out of it fired. And COVID-19 is about to hit, and he's worried about the lockdown and getting a job and not having money and maybe possibly not even being able to work. And he comes home and finds out that one of his roommates just left the city because of COVID. We don't have a clue. Just maybe went home or something. And then another, his other two roommates both work in the theater business, and so they're worried about COVID as well and thinking about leaving New York because of jobs. And so he's thinking, I don't have a job and I might not even have roommates to help me pay for this apartment. And so, with no job and needing to make some money, you know what? I just realized that Jamie might be a girl. It's in first person. So, I don't know. Jamie, he or she, that's a tricky name too. Anyway, with no job and needing to make some money to keep his or her apartment, or their apartment, I don't know, pronouns and stuff. Anyway, so Jamie starts a job as a delivery person for, it's called Food Mood, spelled with a U with two dots over it, and it's a delivery app, and like Uber Eats and Grubhub. And yeah, they them, who knows. It's just I all the time, and I don't think it ever said like, I don't think anybody ever referred to them as like he or she or anything. It was just you or I. So I'm not sure. But anyway, um so I've got some predictions about like what's going to happen next in the after the first chapter. So there hasn't like really not a ton happened. So that's how these predictions always are. I don't know why I always say that. I feel like I have to say that to say like these predictions came out of absolutely nowhere. So I think Jamie's roommates will also get recruited into this preservation society at some point. And I'd say probably later on, maybe once he gets his first paycheck and it's huge, or Jamie gets their first paycheck and it's huge. Let's see. Then I also think that Jamie will let one of his new coworkers, somebody that's already working for the Kaiju Preservation Society, um, that they'll let one of them stay in that like empty spot that they have at their apartment. Um, let's see. I also think that the bad guys are going to bring the monsters to our Earth, and then we're going to have number four, some kind of like Godzilla. Excuse me, Godzilla stomping around all over New York and smashing buildings and dinosaurs, you know. But the Kaiju Preservation Society will stop them before it gets too bad. Um, but I don't have a fifth one. I try to do five, but really, I just felt like I don't have much to go off of in this story, and most of my predictions about it are kind of all in the blurb. So they're not really predictions if they're in the blurb. So I only came up with four. Anyway, so now that I've read the first chapter, what do I like about Kaiju Preservation Society? So first off, I like the like intense office vibes in this first scene. Um, it's just like you can really imagine like this big like hey we all are office buddies kind of vibe, but then you also witness Jamie getting fired. And her boss is a real piece of work, but it is also one of those people that's like, "Wah!" um, like office, we're so cool, hip new app, and so that was fun. Um, oh, I cannot understand this chat message. Let's see, typo, burp. Oh, that burp was Godzilla. Gross. Yeah. It was gross enough that I did it. Now we gotta call back attention to it. Okay, anyway. I also liked that Jamie, back to what I liked about the chapter. I also liked that Jamie seemed to have a lot of ambition in his like 6 month or their 6 month review. And I don't know, I just thought that was cool. It's the like really the one thing that we know about Jamie. And so that is kind of the biggest tie that I have to Jamie right now is that big ideas, ambition to grow at the company, and then gets fired. So that's lame. What I didn't like about Kaiju Preservation Society. So my biggest complaint is that the first chapter was pretty boring. I mean, if you read the blurb, you already kind of know everything in this chapter. He gets fired, and COVID-19 is happening, and he decides to work for a delivery service. And like, I don't know, story wise, I mean, I haven't read the entire book, but story wise, that feels like something that could be given to us in like a sentence, like while he's driving around and like, I got fired by my stupid boss and I was gonna go somewhere. And but like, I don't know, maybe not, maybe that wouldn't have worked out. I don't know. But to me, it was just kind of boring to like watch Jamie get fired and watch them freak out about COVID. And I guess like going with COVID for a second, there were a couple of spots where I just felt like too soon. I mean, we all went through some stress with COVID. For me, it was 2021, not 2020, but um, and there were just a couple moments where I was just like, I'm not ready to deal with a COVID book yet. But so I wanted to go back to talking about it being boring because there I wanted to go all the way back to actually like the very first line of the story, and the very first line pulled me out completely. I actually like read a little bit and was like, I didn't even catch anything that just happened, and I had to go back and like check what I'd missed. And so the first line is dialogue. And like I really just struggled to get grounding in the story because I couldn't picture anything. Like I didn't know who was talking. I didn't know who said what it was. And then once I do get some information of who said that dialogue, I still don't really know anything about him. It was actually his boss talking, and it doesn't, Jamie's boss talking, and it doesn't say boss. It just has a name. And then the worst part is that I'm pretty sure that boss is never going to be in the story again. I don't care about the name. And so it just it was hard to picture and hard to get some grounding in. And I've heard writing advice before where they say never start with dialogue, and I feel like this is a perfect example of why not to start with dialogue. Sorry. But I just like honestly, I completely agree now. Don't start with dialogue in a first line of a story. And I personally am going to make sure that that is not happening in the book that I'm working on. And like after reading this, I was like, I'm going to go over my first line a million times to make sure that it is like grounding and really gets people into the story. Shots fired. Yeah. So my final decision on the Kaiju Preservation Society is I don't see myself putting in the effort to get into the part that sounds good. I don't know. I, I'm just waiting for it to get good, and I think that there's good out there, like farther on in the story, but I just don't know if I want to take the effort to get there, especially if I end up not liking the stuff later. So it's like potentially on my TBR still, but not really. It's like if I'm so bored and I'm like, oh yeah, that one book that I read, oh, check it out and try it again. That's where I'm at right now with Kaiju Preservation Society. So we've got some announcements for next week's first chapter test. I don't know, I said announcements, it's one, it's the same one I always do on these. Next week's first chapter test or first impressions, first look, whatever you want to call it, is going to be Maximum Ride: The Angel Experiment by James Patterson. I left a link in the description so you guys can check it out with me. Um, all we do is read the first chapter, and you can get like the free Kindle sample, like first look on Amazon.com or free sample on your Kindles, or however you want to find a free sample of the chapter. But check it out with me, and we will chat about it together in the chat. That is next week, Wednesday, June 22nd, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard time, same place next week. Maximum Ride: The Angel Experiment. And yeah, hopefully there won't be any technical difficulties next week. As always, thank you guys for checking out this video and for joining us, everybody, on our adventure through the fantasy and sci-fi genres. Bye.